Yeah.
I mean, I'm turning your Wi-Fi so I can get it. Hey everyone, Amanda, you start off. Even though I did the stream.
All right. Basically, I saw the before voting day and Shanae's candidates, and I just kind of wanted to go live. Um, these candidates, how you got to it, why it's important to vote, doing it. So we can just kind of jump into the, and then we can jump into like who you've chosen.
So before I wanted to jump into who I chose, I do want to jump into why. I kind of the why. I know a lot of times, and especially in this work, a lot of our people don't understand the importance of elections, the importance of really vetting candidates. So a lot of times what we do is, oh, if they're a Democrat, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to vote for them. Or if they're Black, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to vote for them. And it's often we kind of do know that there is power in voting, but we don't know the amount of power. And we don't know, even when we vote for people, what their office actually does. So you can have candidates that'll tell you, oh, like for example, you can have a school board candidate that says, well, oh, I'm pro-choice and I'm against abortion. Yeah, but your seat doesn't have any impact on that decision. And so for me, I want to kind of explain the importance of that and why. Often we're out now, as you know, that's why we're hot and sweaty. We've been out canvassing and knocking on doors. And very deliberate about canvassing and knocking on doors in places where people don't typically get the information that they need in order to make a vote. But make a vote that is power, or go and vote where it is powerful. A lot of that has to do with us being extremely busy, the way that we consume information, and the way that candidates give us information. And so I will be very clear with you that on both sides, they don't feel the need or the importance to go out and educate Black voters. And so me and quite a few of us are very deliberate about ensuring that we're educating Black voters because we understand how that impacts our day-to-day lives. And so when we talk about voting and it really doesn't solve anything or it really doesn't impact anything, it impacts every single aspect of your life, from your rent to your utilities, to child care costs if you can actually afford them, to food, to gas, to life insurance, to health insurance. Like every aspect of your life is impacted by whether somebody votes. What I've realized is that politicians have been very good at making sure that we're distracted around issues that don't directly impact us. So we're not paying attention to what they do that directly impacts us. So I wanted to share that before I even got into who I chose. I know that there are, I believe, 30 candidates on the ballot on November for the primary election. So there's an election on August the 23rd. Probably out of 10 people that I talked to, 7 people have no idea that there's even an election. And so that lets you know how we're not getting the information that we need, even though elections are so powerful. The most powerful way to get you the information is by making phone calls and going to knock on people's doors. And that's a lot of work. And also, too, it can be very overwhelming because people can be so negative when you go to a door. So helping people to understand that the reason that somebody's knocking at your door, especially for me, I'm not going related because of a candidate. If I bring you a candidate, it's because a candidate that is trying to impact the issues that impact you every single day. And that's why we out here. We've been out here since 10 o'clock and we'll be out here until 3 o'clock. As hot as it is and as muggy as it is, we actually might get rained out, but we still show up every day. So for the primary election in Alachua County, that's where I primarily do my work, and that's the reason that I moved back. And the reason that I moved back in order to do this work is because I need to also, wherever you live, you need to be advocating around issues in order to get the right people to step up to the plate that are willing to govern the way that you need. So we have in Gainesville, there are 9 candidates for mayor. 9. That's a lot of candidates and a lot to sift through. And I hear people say, oh, I'm going to go research myself. How do you know how to research a candidate when the only information that the candidate really is going to let you know are the things that are good and highlight them? That's why they build out platforms. That's why they get a team of people together that's going to always make them look good. So you're looking for people who know about the candidates, not by just what they say, but also really by their previous track record. And their track record can't be, oh, I was the board member of this, oh, I sat on this board. Because a lot of times when we sit on boards, we do make decisions, but we're not doing the impactful work. So for me, when I chose every candidate as we go over them, I needed them to show me a track record. And I'm going to be very, very honest. I'm Black, and I start there. So every single candidate that I put on a slate card, they got to show me how they represent Black people, not in their words, but in their actions. If you are a Black person that does not show how you represent me in action, I still can't support you. If you are a white person that does, I can't. And I have to say that candidly because a lot of times we get into that. Additionally, I don't care what your party is. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care if you're Republican. I care if you show how you're going to serve Black people in a meaningful way. And I have to say that because often we align with the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party says all the right things. Now, do they do it? That's a whole nother thing. And that's one of the reasons that many of us are frustrated and we refuse to come to the polls and vote. So for me, it's always, as I am a registered Democrat, I'm still people over a party all the time, period, point blank. So now to get into the candidates, Amanda, do you have the list in front of you? If not, I can pull it up.
I got it. So when we talk about, I'll just start at the top. Candidates for county and District 1, we have Mary Alford. I know her. Love her. District 2, we got Charlie Ray Jackson. District 4, we have Ken Cornell. Do you want to talk? And then we have the city. So you want to start with those three?
I'll start with the county. So we'll start right at the very top. So in the county, and anybody who knows me knows I'm extremely honest. The reason that Mary Alford is on this slate card is because she is the one she's better than the other person. And I'm gonna state that. As I was a supporter of Mary Alford, for her to knowingly live in another district and then run in this particular district, that was willful. And the fact that I watched the Democratic establishment sit and be quiet as Diane McGraw was unlawfully removed from her seat and said nothing, and she did nothing wrong. For me, I'm equal opportunity when it comes to doing what's right. So I have to be very clear that I do not agree with what she did, but I also know as it pertains to her opponent, that her opponent will do and make decisions that are detrimental to Black people. So that's the reason that Mary Alford is on this slate at this particular time. When it pertains to Charlie Ray Jackson, I didn't hear
just
you.
had a question.
Okay.
As far as what you were talking about with another district, can you clear that up a little bit?
So what happens is, in pretty much any seat, you have to live in a particular area and determine if you're eligible to run in that seat. So if you don't live in that area, basically you can't run in that seat. So something that people have done throughout the years is they might claim what's called a homestead exemption in one place and live in another. They might have a rental property in one place and then use that place in order to run, but actually reside primarily in another. You might use a family or friend's address or something like that in order to be qualified to run in that seat. And so what Mary Alford did is she used an address that was not her primary address in order to be able to run in her seat. And so as I don't like that part of it because
district. So she had a heart to affect that district, but not necessarily.
Well, the difference with county commission is it's a county-wide race. So even though she sits in that seat, she makes decisions that govern the entire county. It's just in order to run for that open seat, she would have needed to live there. And so the one thing that she did do is once it was found out, she did the right thing. She did resign. She moved in the appropriate place. And then now she's running for her seat, which is the appropriate thing to do. There was no need to fight as it relates to that. But I'm always going to be very honest because people depend on me being honest about what's right. When it comes to many decisions,
Here now,
yeah,
because that's what we need, and we need to know more about why to fix everything: our child care, how we living,
right,
how we paying the
and I definitely want to
how
get
much
that.
money we make. Yeah, go ahead. We got Charlie Ray Jackson and Ken Cornell.
So Charlie Ray Jackson is a former person that actually worked for the county, and he's running against Mary Helen Wheeler. Let me be very clear. I did not want Mary Helen Wheeler to be elected her first time, and I was adamant about not wanting her to be elected this time. She is a person, first of all, her experience, she should have been better to be, if she's going to run for anything, it would be school board. Number two, she's made many, many statements that are borderline racist, which are extremely problematic for me. When it comes to challenges with development in East Gainesville, there's a term called environmental racism. She's one of the people that's at that table preventing development happening in East Gainesville. She's another one that likes to make deals with people in order to get things done. even if it's at a detriment for us. So I don't care what her party affiliation is. I fully understand that she's not a person that's in favor of doing what's right for Black people, so she should not be there. With Charlie Ray Jackson, he is actually a veteran. And I'll be real, Charlie is more conservative because we like to use those titles in our life. But when it comes to what we as Black people need, he fully gets and understands that. So he understands that programs that are mandated to be funded, that they should be funded, but that the funding allocations should be reallocated in a way that's more beneficial to us. So for example, with the county has housing programs. So there are programs that they actually have set up to help us as it relates to rent, as it relates to housing affordability, as it relates to the SHIP program. And so with these, what we call social services programs, anybody will let you know that when they try to access social services supports from the county, it typically takes 2 to 3 months. You don't have 2 to 3 months to wait on funding from the housing if something happens in your life and you need those supports. So you need somebody who's willing to govern in a manner to make those things better. Additionally, the county has say so as it relates to what are those things called? The way that the irrigation systems and things like that want in septic tanks. There are a lot of homes like off of Kincaid Road and things that still have septic tanks. They're not safe and they're bad for the environment. How is it that we have county commissioners that keep talking about how much they love the environment, but we got all of these septic tanks and things that are still there that are accessible when the county has the ability in order to change that? If you're a person that's trying to remodel your house, you're a person that's trying to do things, it's now taking about 6 months in order for you to get a permit in order to do work that's imperative. Many of the homes in East Gainesville are older homes that need to be repaired and remodeled. People are not able to do that. And so people are losing their homes because they have to move somewhere else because they can't live in a home while they're waiting to properly repair it. That's an issue that a county commissioner has impact on. That's an issue that a county commissioner can do something about. Even when it pertains to development as well, the county, just like the city, has a lot of land that they own. They can set up public-private partnerships in order to be able to create affordable housing for us. So whether you want to be a buyer or a renter, you should have the ability to do either. Whatever it is, that's your choice, and be able to do it without giving people the shirt off your back. And that's why it's important as it relates to county commissioners. We do need to protect the environment, but things like paper straws is not how you protect the environment. Energy justice, so helping our homes to be where they're more efficient, which a county commissioner and a city commissioner has actual parts in. That's what we should be looking at. We should be looking at when it comes to home rehabs. Why is it on the backs of the people when the city and the county have certain responsibilities? Even when it comes to paving roads, like in Monio, that's the responsibility of the county. They're trying to say, well, homeowners got to let us. Many of the homeowners in Monio want you to pave the roads. You're utilizing what you're not doing for people and then stating that it's the people's fault when it's actually not. So we need somebody like Charlie Ray that's in there that understands the importance of taking care of our older adults, taking care of our veterans, but then also making sure that the money that's at the table benefits Black people. And so that's why he's chosen. Ken Cornell, the reason that he is chosen, because he's the person that has, as with the county commission, is proven to be very reasonable, understanding the importance of equity, understanding the importance of justice as it relates to Black people. So he is somebody that I will support, even if there were other people that were actually on the ballot.
Okay. And then we'll move into why you chose Michael Rayburn, Commission District 2.
Very clearly. So there is 4 people running for a seat in District 2. Michael Rayburn is the one, I'm going to state very clearly again, that wants to and is committed to doing what's right as it relates to Black people. So while other candidates in District 2 want to talk about all the frilly bells and whistles stuff, he wants to address the transportation system. Why is it taking 3 hours to get from one side of Gainesville to the other side of Gainesville? He wants to address the lack of food access to East Gainesville. He understands that also, though he's in one district, the importance of advocating alongside current commissioners Desmond Walker and then Cynthia Moore Chestnut in order to actually get us appropriate food access. He understands that the city commission just doesn't listen. They do whatever it is that they want to do, whenever they want to do it, instead of actually listening to the people and empowering the people and engaging them in a meaningful way in order to create businesses and things that we want in East Gainesville. There's a lot of development that's going on in East Gainesville, but it's not for Black people. It is very clear that with the current plans that the city commission has, they're going to move and push Black people out. And although we do have two commissioners that are fighting like hell for Black people, they're outnumbered. So the only way that they can be most effective is by actually electing other people that are going to join them on that board to make the decisions that are beneficial to us.
County Commissioner, District 3, Dejan Kane.
Oh, that's city commission. And so Dejan is running against Casey Willett. So Casey, the person he's running against, I adore as a person. But Casey has made it very clear that Black people's issues are not his issues. Some of his positions as it relates to development are things that are detrimental and that will harm Black people. With Dejan, he understands the importance of fixing GRU and making it a utility since that citizens own that is for the people. He understands that changing GRU's policy is the way that we're going to get reduced utility rates. Even right now, as people have gotten excessive GRU utility bills, their solution was to waive late fees. That's of no benefit because a lot of times people are late because they can't afford to pay it. Their other solution was to give And the other solution was to give security deposits back early for people who paid their bill on time. I don't know about you, but most people that I know in Gainesville that paid their light bill at least late once at one time because it's so unaffordable. So literally, the only relief that they're giving is to people who already have more means. That's not good policy. The policy to have people to pay the utility bills by 7 p.m., that's not good policy. Nobody else does that. That's ridiculous. The policy that even if you pay your bill, but because you didn't do a payment arrangement, that we're going to charge you an additional deposit, or because you've got cut off 3 times in a certain amount of months, all you're doing is making it hard for, right. And you're making it hard for poor people. And in Alachua County, most people that are considered poor or below the poverty line, 44% of those are Black people. And so you need somebody like Dejan that understands that intimately and very closely. Dejan has been very clear that in order to build this community, you have to lead from the front and take the community alongside you. You can't make decisions for the community without the community. He's done work on the Affordable Housing Board. He's done work for Gainesville, what is it, GCRA, the Gainesville Community Reinvestment Act, and understanding that even some of the things they did, like a heritage trail, you want to do a heritage trail, but then you want to bring in all of these developers and develop our stuff over in Portis and in Fifth Avenue, and you push Black people out. So we need somebody that, although he's in District 3, which is partly West Gainesville, he understands that the way that development is being done, it is racist on its face. And so that's the reason that I throw support behind Dejan.
So, I mean, just with these few already, it sounds like we have the ability to really create.
We have the ability to change the entire game in Alachua County in one election. And that's what I think people don't understand. With it being so many open seats, if we are deliberate, we come together as a unified front and show up to the polls. We, number one, and the reason it can happen in one election, because you already have a few people in each space that are willing to do the right thing. They're just outnumbered. Number two, the manner in which people, and I promise you this, as a person who runs campaigns, the belief is that we only going to listen to the people that show up because we want to be reelected. So, and the belief is that Black people don't show up and vote. So we're not even going to try. We're going to go over to the other people, which they call super voters, that we know are going to vote. They don't acknowledge that a lot of times that Black people don't vote because we don't see the benefit of our vote. Or that when we do show up and vote, you get people in office that make decisions that are totally against what it is that we want and what that we need. So we have to put them on notice by showing them that we will not only show up, but we will show up and vote as a voting block. And then we leverage that power. So the same way that they pander to other people in order to be reelected, they need to know that in order to be reelected, they need us. There are 63 voting precincts in Alachua County. There are 7 precincts that make up, that are 75% Black. That is 14,611 votes that are Black people in 7 precincts. If just those Black people, that 75% of Black people in those 7 precincts showed up and voted together, we could elect whomever it is that we wanted within this county. When you're looking at that, like for some of the previous elections, I'm sorry.
Oh, I ain't saying nothing. It just sounds like we
when you look,
have ability.
oh yeah.
And
When you're looking at when
and
people have won like 18,000 votes. People have won with 30,000 votes. So literally 14,000 in 7 precincts. That's not counting allies. That's not counting black people in the other 50 plus precincts. If just those people in those 7 precincts showed up together, whomever it is that we need in there that's going to fight and advocate for us would actually be in there.
we got to know the answers to the questions. We can't just Christmas tree the ballot.
Absolutely.
So remembering these names, can we print this out and bring this with us?
Absolutely. So the way that well, even now you can bring your phones, but it's just easy if you print it out because you can take notes. Some people turn around and they write it. I've learned that people are more prone to show up to the polls if they know who all is on the ballot. They feel more confident. I recommend that people, because you still can't get your vote by mail ballot. Well, now it's so close to it with the mail, I don't recommend that anymore. But early voting started today. So from 9 until 6 today, tomorrow, all the way to next Saturday, the 20th, you can go to any of the early voting locations. There's one at Millhopper Library. There's one at Tower Road Library. There's one at Orange Heights Baptist Church. There's one at Legacy out in Alachua. The supervisor of elections right downtown. Or those are just to name a few.
We
You go
can
and you
post
early.
a list or
Absolutely. I will. I won't do it until actually I think I can't find it and screenshot it before we get back to canvassing. I'm about to start back at 1. But you go, I recommend that everybody comes tomorrow. Tomorrow is Souls to the Polls. It's a free event. You go and you vote. You get a free barbecue dinner. There are kids events. We have snow cones. We have face painting and other kids activities as well. There's entertainment. The candidates will actually be there. So you can go to each of their tables and see what vibe you get from, and that's all the candidates. So not even just the candidates that I support, but all the candidates. There's going to be more than 30 candidates there. So you have the
that
opportunity
sounds
where
good.
people are there giving out prizes and food to not only have a community event, but really feel like you are equipped when you go in there and cast your ballot.
So just the rest of them in this area, we got Christian Newman, Julie Thomas, and I wanted to say about any of them.
So Christian Newman is the same with him. He's done some work on the planning board. He was a person that has learned from the work that he's done on the planning board that the manner in which the city commission is making decisions for development is harmful to black communities. And he wants to be a person to get in and advocate on that particular issue. And we need someone that's willing to actually do that. We need someone that's been bold enough to say, well, what you're doing is not right. It's not just. We need someone to say, you know what, I voted in this particular way, but now with more information, I realize that this is not the right way to do it. We need to pivot and adapt in order to do what we need to do with our communities. He understands the importance of being deliberate about going in, out and engaging communities. So that's the reason that I so support behind Christian. And then who was the other person?
Julie Thomas for Gainesville Mayor.
Oh, July.
July Thomas. I'm sorry.
Yes. So and with July has proven out of the 9 candidates to be the only one who has taken the time to be versed on any of the issues and actually have real viable solutions. We have put together multiple voter forums. I'm disturbed that 2 candidates running for mayor were already city commissioners that don't get it, have not engaged the people, and really have zero solutions. In some of these forums, they will ask direct questions on what to do and how to do it. July is the only person that knows what to do. July is the only person that wants to be an equal partner with the black community when it relates to development. July is the only one out of the 9 candidates that understands the importance of our history, preserving that history, and then also giving us actual power at the table. And that's what we need in the mayor. And so all of this, well, I'm going to vote for this person because that's my friend, or I'm going to vote for the person who seems to be most electable. The person that's the most electable is the one that all the people come behind and work together in order to get elected.
So it sounds like we can't afford to not go vote. That's
at
what it
all.
sounds like.
And that go for anybody. We see many complaints amongst ourselves on social media. We are complaining because there is no development. We are complaining because there is no healthcare center in East Gainesville. We're complaining because there is no grocery store, no restaurants. The way that we get those things and people willing to govern in a manner for us to obtain those things is by voting. And even the power of most is locally. So for that county commission, those city commission seats, the other seats at the state level are extremely important, but we actually have more power locally. And I want to say this, even for small businesses, there is the opportunity, and these kinds of plans have been presented to our commissions to create small business incubator programs with almost like those tiny houses where you actually build those sheds where they're really, really nice and quality. You're able to go and rent one of those out for $200-300 a month while you build your business and build the infrastructure. There have been plans presented to them to create an affordable housing mechanism where you can move in as a renter, and then they have the ability to help you to clean up your credit, have the ability to help you with debt and finance, have the ability to send resources like mental health services and nurses to the community. And the current people, all they want to do is take all of our land, sell it off, and then sell it to developers. We need people that are bold enough and creative enough to be able to pass ordinances that actually are beneficial to us.
Yes. U.S. Representative, Alachua District 3.
District 3. So there are Danielle
Tom Webb.
Hawk and Tom Wells. And the reason that Tom actually is chosen, and I'm not going to say he is my favorite candidate, but he is one that is proven to show up when we need him. So when the issues happened with Terrell Bradley, he was there and he showed up. When issues happened with DeVico Miles, he was there and he showed up. He's showing up in spaces where he's not liked and wanted. He is a scientist by nature, so he understands the environmental impacts. So people often want to say, well, oh, he's awkward. Many people are. I'm awkward. I am neurotypical. I'm neurodivergent. I think very differently than everybody else. That should not exclude me from having an office, especially when I understand that I actually am the person that's willing to show up. And so that's what's been problematic for me. He is one when we were advocating and protest Perry and anyone else. We need somebody that is willing to speak truth to power, no matter how awkward they are.
Yep. And sometimes you just need a little extra logic and to think outside the box. So
Absolutely.
we have School Board Commissioner District 1, Tina Certain.
So with Tina, people have seen her govern. So for the school board, I'm going to state this. There is an assault throughout the state to take over all of our school boards, and that's by DeSantis. Oh, I call him Ronnie D. Tina, it was, and Dr. McNeely and Diane McGraw, when they govern and govern together, the importance of equity, which is doing what's right by Black and also brown families, was what was at the forefront. And people didn't want that. When it came to mask mandates, they did stand up. They did the right thing in order to protect the community. When it came to reopening schools and training teachers to learn how to go reopen schools with these hybrid courses, it was Tina and Dr. McNeely and Diane that were advocating for teachers to be paid appropriately when other school board members did not want that to happen. They've been the ones that if you reach out to and say, hey, I need you to come into my community, this is the issue that's happening. They've been those people. So we need somebody that continues to show up for the people within our community. I would like for them to govern in a lot more bold manner once they get there. They move kind of cautious sometimes in order to try to make people not be afraid. But we need to both govern in a manner in order to get our people to the table and for our people to know that they are being represented. So a lot of the good work that they're doing needs to be seen out front and for the public.
Once they have more support in office, then maybe they will feel more comfortable and supported in that way.
Right.
More bold. So that was Tina Certain, Sarah Rockwell, and Prescott Cowles.
Okay. So Prescott is the reason that we knew that the school reopening plan was plagiarized by the previous superintendent at that particular time. He stepped aboard and became a part of like a commission that the superintendent after Karen Clark came in and did, where they were actually going to ensure that the schools were safe for reopening. He was one that was very candid and very transparent about the safety protocols. When they were hiding COVID cases, he helped to create the COVID dashboard so we can know and understand cases. He was very deliberate about contact tracing. I like Prescott because he's extremely young. He has a lot of work that he's done over like at Camp Crystal and other places. And so utilizing he's a scientist by nature, utilizing that brain in order to be able to come in and come up with creative solutions. That's what we need. Additionally, because he's young, he's not that far removed from the things that have gone on in our public school system. So there's a different vision that he can come in that needs to be brought in. Most often, many of our school board members have been retired educators. I think Tina's the youngest, and she older than me, and I ain't that young. So I'm gonna state that. So I do think that there is some great impact for Prescott. With Sarah Rockwell, Sarah and I did a tremendous amount of work together before we ever met. So she's one that is a staunch advocate for the right disabilities rights, which we need, especially Black students with disabilities, because there's an intersectionality that gets overlooked. She is one that is showing up for us as it related to mass mandates, school reopening. So she joined this fight and she's not left it. And that's who we need. We need people that understand that all those certain policies that are school board related might not impact me directly, they impact all students, and she'll be advocating around those. Also, she understands the importance of deliberate and meaningful parent engagement, and that's what we need. This whole deal that we make the decisions for you and then you have to accept it no matter what it is, we have to unlearn that. And Sarah being at the table is a person that I know will fight and advocate for us to have that seat at that table.
Thank you. All right, now State Senator Rodney Long.
Rodney has a track record. Rodney is a good politician, and he is very what we call pragmatic. So he is a person that we were to get him to the state, he has the ability to get things done on both sides. So he did some good work when he was a city commissioner. He did great work when he was a county commissioner. He understands the special needs here in Gainesville, but he's done an excellent job at actually building relationships in other counties, like Putnam and also Marion County. And that's what we need in order to be able to build power. It's somebody that's well respected in multiple counties, somebody that is pragmatic enough in order to get the work done in the state of Florida.
And then we have Yvonne Hayes Henson,
Yvonne,
State Representative.
Yvonne ain't always my favorite person. That's me being very honest. Things that I do like about Yvonne, she does show up when there was a protest against DeSantis trying to get rid of 2 Black voting districts. Out of all of the people across the state, Yvonne was one of 3 people that stood up and fought to do what's right for Black people. Additionally, one of the things that I do love about Yvonne, she is excellent as it relates to education, the knowledge base that is needed, and what it is to do to make a positive impact at the state level. And that we do need. Additionally, she's tried to do some work with workforce development. Perhaps we can get that further along if we get other people that are actually in the legislature in order to support her. So the reason that she is on that card is because of the things that she does advocate for. She is doing she's working hard at trying to get those things done. And there are things that resonate with us in our communities.
Good.
And I do want to highlight that before you go to the next one. I want to be clear. When we're making decisions, we're not choosing people because we like them. So as I state, when she's not my favorite person, I want to be clear. She's on that slate card because she's the best candidate, not because I like a person or not.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate that you have done all of this research, community, and the needs of the community that you're aware of, and really just kind of be. So next we have State Representative District 22. Is it Oli? Is that how you pronounce it?
Alicia Magruder. And so Alicia Magruder, I fully support. And that's because she's a teacher by trade and she's made a positive impact there. She does instructional design for Johns Hopkins University now. But the thing that is most amazing about Alicia is she is truly an ally. She is an avid ally. And I don't mean an ally with, oh, I just support your issues and that's what it is. She's one like how we out here knocking on doors in our hot sun. She does that. When it's time to make phone calls and show up in the space, she's the person that does that. She's the person, even when we're talking about, legalizing marijuana and things, she doesn't do that. Or she's not a fan of that because that's the new frilly thing to do. She understands the benefit of legalizing marijuana in our communities when it pertains to the criminal justice system. Also, when it pertains to finances, there's an opportunity for us to be able to utilize something that we were always criminalized for in order to be able to build legacies for our family. Those things are important. Alicia also is, when we say pro-choice, but she's pro-choice in the manner that I am. I advocate for women's health. I need us to be able to battle and fight cancer. I need us to be able to have the tools we need to successfully breastfeed. I look at reproductive rights as a childcare issue. In order for us to have babies, we should have access to quality childcare that does not make us have to be away from our children more because we can't afford it. And so she's one of the people when Rep. Angie Nixon had a bill in the state in order to raise the threshold for people to be eligible for subsidized child care. Alicia was a person that was in favor of that bill. When it comes to quality food, Alicia is in favor of those particular things. And so that's the reason. She has what's called a primary opponent that is going to tell people, well, I'm your best candidate because I can appeal to Republicans. What the hell is that? We want somebody who actually fights for our actual issues. We have these two people are throwing support about around her opponent because his wife has been in politics before, but black people not winning. So why are we choosing people because they have affiliations or previous people when we're not winning? So we need to have the ability and the boldness to actually put somebody in there that's willing to do the work that's needed for us. I'm coming, y'all.
So the next ones are JR for what that is.
Yeah. So that is for agricultural commissioner. So the ag commissioner, that's the office of people get their concealed weapons permits. Additionally, they're the ones that are supposed to protect us from fraud and give us consumer protections. They're also the ones when it comes to a lot of us with access to quality food. All of that is regulated. So even with the free school lunch program, that's under the agricultural commissioner. A lot of people don't know that. And just in all honesty, the other two, and I don't really say that about candidates, like actual crooks. So like I mean like actual fraud. I mean like actual domestic violence. I mean like actual like oh my gosh. So literally hands down, which JR is actually excellent. One of the things that he wants to do is to have when people have their concealed carry permits to actually have to make people have insurance because they understand that the insurance companies will come to the tables for better gun regulations. And so being creative and thinking outside of the box and actually coming up with a viable solution. So the same way we're required to have insurance on our cars, if you are a gun owner, you have to have insurance on your gun. You're more prone to lock it up to prevent it from being stolen, and you'll be more responsible with it, even as it relates to being around your children. And I think that is so innovative. So not only are the other two like actual like cricket, like whoa, but then he actually does have solutions that we actually need to be able to change some of the things that are going on in the state of Florida.
I just want to point out what would happen if we don't vote for this person, and a crook is somebody in office in this position.
So number
If
one, no vote is a vote. And so that means you're voting against your best interest. And so if a person gets into, let's say, the USDA Department of Agriculture right now, they could turn around and decriminalize marijuana. They can criminalize marijuana all over again because they don't see the benefit of us. When it comes to food regulation, we're already talking about excessive food costs. They could be ones that state, well, we don't really care about that. They could turn around and tax the food. When it comes to protections that we have, let's say somebody, we're victims of a phishing scam, they can peel back those protections, say, oh, you're bad. And that they can actually prosecute you for being silly. Like literally, there's a lot of power in this office that people don't realize.
but we need to, because if we don't,
Right.
at the aftermath.
Right. And then they'll say, oh, it won't happen. Look at all the other things that have happened. Additionally, when we're looking at what's wrong with how rent is excessive, that's the entire state of Florida. And that's because the state of Florida doesn't have rent control. And so because that's an ordinance that they don't have, they can do whatever. Homeowners insurance is actually going up because there is no regulation on it. And so wanting people to know and understand that the elected officials are the ones making these decisions. They're passing bills right up under our nose because we're busy. We're trying to live life. And so that's on purpose. So it's important to actually, I call them champions, to vote and elect champions that are going to champion our issues. So people who are going to champion our housing issues, people that are going to champion childcare issues, people that are going to champion reducing car insurance. State of Florida is a no-fault state. So even if you're hit in a car accident, you get charged. Your insurance rates go up if you're the person that's hit.
Yep. You ain't lying. Attorney General Aramis
So
Ayala.
Aramis Ayala, yeah, most people think they don't know who Aramis is. She is the state attorney out of Orange County that was actually pulled over and harassed by Orange County sheriffs for driving while black. And she actually was able to capture and record it. She also caught a lot of backlash because she was not willing to just give the death penalty to a lot of black people. She believes she's very justice minded. She understands there should be more in the toolkit instead of locking people up and actually throwing away the key. So she understands the balance of keeping the community safe, saving us actual dollars, but then also actually rehabilitating people that can be rehabilitated. Also, with the Attorney General, our juvenile justice system is entirely privatized. So there are no proactive programs to prevent our children from getting in trouble. She has the ability to be able to change that and actually be able to pass down legislation that requires that there be proactive programs for our children. In addition, she does advocacy for victims of domestic violence. And then as a champion with the Attorney General, there's regulations and things she can do to support working families. And so that's why she's the person that I chose.
Good. United States Senator
Which one?
Um, Val Deming.
So we're gonna be real. Val ain't my favorite person either, but she's the lesser of the evils. That's why, and that's just being totally honest.
And it be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Charlie Creek. Is it Priest?
Charlie Crist. So Charlie Crist has been governor before, and he's had a pretty good track record. The one thing that stood out when he was governor, when President Obama was president and the stimulus package came down, he accepted the stimulus in order to help Florida to be able to bounce back. Members in his party were not in favor of that. The reason that it stood out to me is because he stood up for what was right for the state of Florida, not about a party affiliation. He went from being a Republican governor to independent and then eventually going to Democrat. And not because, and people say, oh, well, he did that because that was what politically savvy. No, if you look at his voting record as it relates to Black issues, you look at his voting record as it relates to women's rights, when you look at his voting record as it relates to many of the other issues, he has a very good voting record. Has he said some dumb stuff? Heck yeah. Are there some things he needs to ask for? Heck yeah. But when you're actually looking at a track record and doing what Black people need, he is the person that is proven to do that. And that's what the state of Florida needs. So Charlie has proven that he will govern for everybody in the state of Florida, not just a select few.
So for any long, Ron Hayes, Alicia Gruder, J.R. Gallic,
Yeah.
Aramis, Ayala, Val Deming, and or Christ. And then the last few are Soil Water. We have Janice Vincent, Danny Gordon.
So I'll just clump all of those together because a lot of people don't know Soil and Water. Number one, it's a non-paid position, but a lot of these positions are low paying. People are running for power, period. And so we need to be mindful of that. So the reason that these people are chosen, that I chose them, like Jancy Vincent, Nevaeh Renwick, Nevaeh, actually the work that she does, and she's now a PhD, a doctoral student, is in energy conservation and actually as it pertains to energy justice and equity and environmental justice for Black people. That's the work that she actually does. That's the degree that she's getting. We don't understand the importance of soil and water conservation in order to protect, because we do need to protect some land, because that's how we keep clean drinking water. So we're wondering what happened and how Flint got to be the way that it was, because nobody was paying attention to things like your soil and your water conservation. Additionally, this is a position as it relates to power. So when we're talking about what we call big ag and tobacco companies and those types of companies, they can come in, take over, and then be able to pull resources out of our communities. And so the people that are on that list are people that are trying to protect us, even when we don't understand what we're being protected from. And we don't. We're trying to survive. So we don't get the importance of the environment. And I get that. So until we understand that, until we get out of survival mode, we need people in place that know exactly what they're doing in order to protect our best interests. And those 4 people are those people to do that.
And that's how we get out of, so we got to wake up. We have to be alert. We have to be intentional. And we have to make a choice.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say about your selected in general?
No, that's it. I'm free. I'm in get out the vote mode, so I'm really not responding to anything except anything related to voting, and that's just not personal. This is this hard work. It's a team of 8 of us out here now. We got to go finish knocking on doors. We've been in Tower Oaks Glen. We actually headed over to, it changed names so many times, but Fox Hollow. We actually going to Linton Oaks and some other communities. And the reason for that is there's a lot of registered voters in those places that people refuse to engage. We are deliberate. I am true. Yeah, they got to saying that Black voters matter. I believe that. It's a mantra that I say when I wake up. I also support that there is a Florida for all, and the only way to get that is for us to actually do the work. Sold to the polls. Again, it's tomorrow from 1 to 4. It's a family event. Bring your kids. It's a lot of fun. Prizes, food, all of the work, effort, and energy that we're putting in. We have went door to door and given out 1,000 flyers in order to invite that. We've sent out 4,000 emails and made a few thousand phone calls. We've put in our effort. Now the responsibility is on us in order to show up. And that's all I got. And then in addition, the purpose for all of it is show up on August the 23rd. actually before August the 23rd. Election day is August the 23rd from 7 a to 7 p. If you early vote or get your vote by mail ballot in ahead of time, there won't be any reason for your ballot not to be counted. If you go to early voting today, all the way through Saturday from 9 to 6 at any of the early voting locations, it doesn't matter which location you go to. On election day, you have to go to your precinct. There have been a lot of precinct changes. Save yourself the trouble. Also, things happen, emergencies come up, and then you may not be able to cast your vote. And literally, every single vote counts. I can show you where elections have been decided by as little as 15, 12, and 30 votes. So in order to get it counted, show up, get your people involved. If you're not registered, you can't vote in this election, but get registered so you can vote on November the 8th.
And those links to the information on here. And I just
I
want
will. So I'm gonna be honest,
wait.
it'll be after 3. So once we finish,
I appreciate your time and I appreciate everything that you're doing. Y'all who don't have a car, come vote with me. That's it.
thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Let go. Ah.